Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be the final movie review I make for 2014 before I make my top 10 list. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. This is going to be the final one, and this is also probably going to be the final movie I see in theaters in 2014, because this movie was the last movie I saw that I thought would crack my top 10 list. I went to see it today. Finally, I'm so happy I saw it. I've really been looking forward to it. And that movie I'm going to be viewing is The Imitation Game. And I've been wanting to see this movie for a very long time because it got so much praise at TIFF. If I remember correctly, it actually won the Best Film Award at TIFF. So I was definitely really looking forward to it since then. And then when I found out it was coming to my theater and it was going to be released like extremely wide, I freaked out because I really wanted to see it. And I am so happy that I saw this movie because The Imitation Game is by far one of the best movies of this year. It has some of the best performances of the year. It also is one of the saddest movies of the year. It really is very effective. It's very sad, and if you guys want to see a very uplifting movie, don't see this movie. Just don't. And let me talk about the story of The Imitation Game. It's basically the very heartbreaking story of Alan Turing. Alan Turing was a very successful mathematician. You know, he was very famous with that, and it kind of has three different stories going on. Basically, Alan has been convicted for supposedly somehow doing something sexual with a man, and this detective is questioning him, you know, trying to see if he really is a homosexual or not. And we flash back to 1939 when Alan was working with a team of code breakers at Britain's top secret government code to basically try to crack the Enigma code and basically end the war. That's kind of what they want to do here. And then we also see back when Alan was in boarding school and the difficulties he had with that. And that's basically the plot of The Imitation Game, and kind of is really a story about a man who had to hide his identity all of his life. And I'm going to talk about why he had to do that. And there's a lot of things this movie does very, very well that I love. And one of the things that I just loved about this movie is the way this movie is constructed. But first, we have to talk about the amazing, amazing acting in this movie, because this movie has some of the best acting of the entire year. Some of the best acting I've seen all year. First of all, we need to talk about Benedict Cumberbatch. Oh my god, he was so good in this movie. He was amazing. His character was fantastic. The struggle he went through. I mean, really, you felt so bad for Alan. But the thing is, the first time you see him, he's not really a good person. He's not really a nice person. He's kind of, he's kind of rude. He's very smart, but he's kind of rude. He's not really helping anyone. You know, when he's with the Codebreakers, he's not really helping anyone. He's kind of doing his own thing. He's not, he's kind of being rude to this detective and everything. But you eventually see why, and I think Benedict Cumberbatch just portrayed everything very, very well, because Alan Turing basically was a man who was a homosexual who had to hide his identity. Because in Britain, what would happen is if you were revealed, it's crazy to think that this happened, but in Britain, what would happen is if you revealed to someone that you were a homosexual, they would fire you. You would have to take like this medication and things like that. And just the fact that they did that is so fucked up and crazy. But Benedict Cumberbatch portrayed all that very, very well. He really sold that point home very, very well. I mean, you can definitely see how broken this has made Alan Turing, how upset it's made him, how it's really changed him as a person. I think Benedict Cumberbatch portrayed that very, very well, and this is by far Benedict Cumberbatch's best performance, and he better win the Oscar. He better not win the Oscar, but get nominated for the Oscar, because he was fantastic in this movie. He gives one of the best performances of the entire year, and this really proves that Benedict Cumberbatch is one of the best actors working today. I know that's a cliche thing to say, but it really is. He is one of the best actors working today, and he gives such a heartbreaking performance that honestly almost brought me to tears. I was this close to crying in this movie. This close to crying. I didn't cry, but I was this close to crying. That's how effective this movie really is. And Keira Knightley in this movie, I really liked her character, because she plays Joan Clark. Now, Joan Clark and Alan Turing, he actually ends up proposing to her, but the thing that's so sad is that you can see that she really wants to be in a relationship with him, but she couldn't be because, he eventually does come out to her and tell her that he is a homosexual. And even after he tells her that she wants to be in a relationship, but she knows that she needs to look realistically and that he doesn't want that he doesn't think of her that way. And it was very, very sad to watch. But I think Keira Knightley really did a great job doing that. And I like that she didn't just hate him after that. I like that she still was a friend to him. I definitely really loved her character. The friendship between the two of them was great. It was some very, very hard scene to watch between the two of them, but they handled it very, very well, and I thought they were both very, very well portrayed. Matthew Good as Hugh was also very good. I thought he did a very good job. I really liked his character in this movie. The one that played the detective, Rory Kiner. He was amazing. I thought not amazing, but I thought he did a very good job of doing that. This movie is non-linear, by the way, because it shows the detective, and then it'll cut to them trying to break a code. And I thought it worked. Some people say it didn't really work, but I thought it worked pretty well. Mark Strong was very good in this movie. Now, I really want to talk about Alan Leach as John. I loved his character. There's a huge twist with him that you don't see coming, and I think it's very well done when they did that twist. I definitely really enjoyed that. Alex Lauder as the young Alan Turing was very, very good. I really liked his character. We see that he had this relationship with this guy who he couldn't, he kind of had a crush on this guy who he couldn't tell anyone about because, of course, he was a homosexual and people would give him weird looks and things like that. And one of the things this movie does show is how far we have come as a society. I think it's a great message. And the directing by Morton Tildum, is won some of the best directing of the entire year. He did an amazing job directing this movie. His directing was spot on. He set the tone perfectly. And the movie has some very funny moments. There are a lot of scenes that are actually very funny. In the beginning, like, they don't really know if they can trust, Alan and everything, so they're very against him. There's some very funny scenes with that. There are some very funny scenes just in the movie in general that I really liked. I like the movie did have some comedy in there. But the movie also portrayed Nazi Germany very well, because the movie does show, and something that I like is that the movie does show what was going on when they were cracking the codes. Like, what was going on here, why they're cracking the codes. And I thought that was very well done, because we had to understand why they were doing this. In the beginning of the movie, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to understand this. But when they did that, I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely understand. I think they portrayed that very well. And they also portrayed the character of Alan Turing very well, his history. It really made us care about him more. And especially when we see what was on the screen, which I'll talk about in the spoilers, that I really liked. The screenplay to this movie is one of the best of the year. Screenplay was absolutely fantastic. Love the screenplay. The dialogue was great. It really portrayed the movie perfectly. Love the screenplay of this movie, definitely. The score was great. Very, very sad score, but I definitely really love the score. Cinematography of this movie is awesome. There's this one shot where you see these planes firing into these homes, and that's when basically the Jews are forced out of their homes and everything. And it's so sad to watch, but it's so amazingly done. And I think the cinematography was great to this movie. I love the cinematography. I love what it was trying to show. And the cinematography is some of the best of the year, definitely. I think it's some of the best cinematography of the year. I love the cinematography. Absolutely fantastic. The editing was great, too. This movie really did go by pretty fast. And now we're going to talk about some spoilers for The Imitation Game. Now, this movie has gotten a lot of Golden Globe consideration. And I really hope a lot of people win. I really want to see Benedict Cumberbatch. I definitely want to see this movie get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. It is absolutely fantastic. It really doesn't have any problems. My only real complaint about the movie is there were a couple times when the time jumps, the nonlinear focus didn't really work, in my opinion. There were a couple times where I'm like, I don't really know if this is going to work. It's not, that's really my only complaint with the movie, is that there were a couple times I didn't know if that was going to work, but other than that, I really did enjoy the movie. And also, the beginning of the movie was a little bit slow, it was a little bit of a rocky start. I didn't know if I was going to love it, but then I ended up loving it as the movie went on. And, let's get to the spoilers in this movie now. If you guys have not seen this movie, I'm going to talk some major spoilers. If you guys know the story of Alan Turing, you know what I'm about to talk about, but, one of the other things that I forgot to say before I get to the spoilers that I find very interesting is that the whole thing with the code also plays into the whole idea of the imitation game. Not only does the imitation game have to be with him covering himself up as a homosexual, but also himself, also him being the one to possibly crack this code. They can't tell anyone they're working on it. They can't tell anyone they're working on this Enigma code, and it really makes you think about how hard that must have been. I mean, think about it. They basically are the ones that are going to have a huge part in ending the war, and they can't tell anyone everyone about it. And I think that's a very thought-provoking thing, actually. I thought it was very, very well done. The way they portrayed that, I definitely really enjoyed as well. Now we are going to get to spoilers now. Now, of course, one of the biggest spoilers in the movie, of course, is that John is the actual, you know, that John is the Soviet spy. And I thought that was a very good twist. I definitely really liked that twist, and Joan wasn't. And it definitely did make sense, actually, because you definitely tell that John was hiding something. And when we found out what it was, I thought that was very well done. And my only thing there is, why didn't he? I mean, he said that, he said to Alan, like, look, if you tell the boss, then I'm going to tell him your secret, but he didn't do that. So I think it's because the boss already knew, and it wasn't as big as a deal to him as he thought it was going to be. So it kind of makes sense, but I thought that was a very well done reveal, and I definitely really enjoyed that. And then, of course, the ending. This is one of those movies where I actually really did look at the thing at the end where it says what happened to them after the movie. And a lot of times, these based on true story movies, I don't really read the captions at the end where it says, and this person went on to do this person went on to do this. But this is one that I really felt very sad about, because of course the ending of the movie, that's when he breaks down. He's taking that medication. He's basically at the point where he is completely upset, because think about this, he's had to do this all his life. He's had to cover up being a homosexual and cover up who he's wanted to be his entire life, and just it was very, very sad to watch. And of course the ending, we find out that he did end up killing himself, and I honestly felt very, very bad for him. I really did. And even if you're not a homosexual, the movie really does make you care more for him. I personally am not a homosexual, and the movie really did make me care for him. I mean, really, it did, and I think the movie's very well with doing that. And it really, again, shows how far we've come as a society and how accepting we've become of people. And I think the movie really does a great job of portraying that, and I definitely really love that the movie showed that. That's one of my favorite things that the movie showed, actually, is its central message. I think that that's the message the movie's trying to drive. Also, the other thing I love this movie did was when we found out that Alan basically created computers. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Alan had like a huge part in doing it. I thought that was very well done, actually, and I definitely really liked that reveal. And I thought that was very, very well done in my opinion. But that's basically all I really want to say about the Imitation Game. I highly, highly recommend you guys check out this movie. It is an amazing movie. Honestly, out of the 3 movies I've seen in theaters, this is probably my favorite. Out of the Into the Woods, Imitation Game, and Big Eyes, I honestly recommend the Imitation Game the most. I'm just going to tell you guys this. Bring some tissues. You're probably going to cry. It's very, very sad. It's very, very effective. It really is a very, very heartbreaking story. Look up Alan Turing. You guys are probably going to cry. It's a very sad story. Oh, the other spoiler I want to talk about. I really like the twist of Christopher being the guy that Alan was in love with, but he died and everything because of tuberculosis. I thought that was a very good twist, because I'm like, why did he name his machine Christopher? I thought that was a very well done scene. I definitely really enjoyed that. So, the movie also does do a very good job of showing how Alan created these computers and how Alan started that and everything. I thought that was very good as well. It showed the technical aspect. It really showed a lot of really great things about Alan's life. It didn't only show, and it's not just about him just being a homosexual. It's about all the things he did, really, and the impact he had on everyone. I thought the movie did a very good job portraying that. But that's basically for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Finally, guys, I will now make my top 10. My next video will be for my top 10 favorite movies of 2014. Stay tuned for that. This will definitely be on that list. I absolutely love this movie. Highly recommend you guys check it out. It's not a masterpiece. It does have a few problems, like I said, but I still really love this movie, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. But that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be for my top 10... for my top 10 movies of 2014. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.